Welcome to the Ask Faleskini, the Clarity Compass podcast. Today's topic is intermittent fasting for midlifers. In theory, intermittent fasting is the most natural way to consume food and to fast in between. The idea is that in the past, people were not living in the city and the food was not abundant. So our body adopted to eating once or maybe twice a day. And in between, our stomach and our digestion system had time to rest. That is why intermittent fasting helps us with insulin resistance, helps us with lowering cortisol, and of course, some people claim that it also sparks or trigger autophagy. Autophagy, like our own body eating the things that they don't need, and that's why becoming more healthy. So I have tried or I'm practicing intermittent fasting for the last 5 years. And here is what I found out. First, it was quite hard to start the intermittent fasting for me. I was severely overweight, like 60 pounds overweight, and I ate a lot of sugar in my diet and a lot of carbs. So, starting with a 16 hours fast and 8 hours window where I could eat. Of course, that was really hard, especially when I was working a lot of physical work, not so much office work, but when I was doing a lot of physical work, I was starved and I had huge emotional or physical challenges. So I persisted nevertheless, and first 19 days, nothing happened. Then I explored a bit more and found out that I eat too much sugars and too much carbs. So I went and started a keto diet. And then another 90 days, nothing happened. I was just extremely exhausted because I went off the sugar. I had huge sugar cravings and I persisted nevertheless. Only after more than half a year, my body started reacting. I lost first 20 pounds and then everything stopped again. So I could not lose more, even if I was still fat. So I tried to change something. I made more research and I saw that my insulin resistance did improve, but my cortisol was, so the stress hormone was still high. So I explored a bit more and then I found out that I'm doing a lot of things wrong with intermittent fasting. First, I'm not I'm not in tune with my work cycle. So even if I did exercise in the morning, I only started eating midday. That was the first problem. So my exercise were not good, or I was starved. I was not feeling the best. If I did a lot of physical work, I just lost energy while doing it and I had to stop, or I just had to lower my activity to the minimum. Then I still had a lot of cravings after I stopped eating. So I dug a bit deeper and found out that if you're doing exercise, you have to eat somehow before the exercise, else you don't have a fuel to fuel the exercise. And I found out that when you start eating, so when you break fasting period, you need to stop, or the first meal should be full of proteins. So a lot of meat, or in my case, I eat eggs. And if you don't want food carving cravings after you stop eating, you should and your meal, let's say, time with a lot of fat. My way out were nuts, different nuts. I eat different nuts when I stop. So that was all good, but my stomach, after 2 years of intermittent fasting, was not feeling very well. I had different digestion problems. I was trying a lot of fiber, and my diet was like 2 pounds of meat a day and about 1 pound of vegetables. But my diet was not, so my digestion system did not improve. So I found out that I have to just get more probiotics. So I started eating different pills, and on the end, I started stop this all these pills because they were there was almost no effect of these pills, and I started adding kefir or kefir. That depends on how you want to say it. And the most important was that I was under too much stress. So I had to get out of the stressful situation. I had to get out of survival mode. And after I found a safe place and went out of survival mode, things just started making perfect sense. And my intermittent fasting was finally successful. I could uh, I could get to a perfect weight. I am now around 220 pounds or 100 kilos, and I have under 15% or around 15% body fat right now. I don't have food cravings, and my emotions are also under control. So, very important is to understand that the food balances our emotion, and especially sugar. When we crave sugars, we know that our body craves meat uh, or protein or something like that, but our nervous system signals us that we need some kind of comfort, and we usually relate or connect sugar with comfort. So when we need comfort and emotional comfort, we crave for something sweet. If we have well-balanced diet, this does not happen often. However, I was only able to regulate my emotions after a lot of coaching and after a lot of psychotherapy. So I'm a huge fan of intermittent fasting, especially in the midlife, but we have to be aware that people have different styles. And for example, in my week, I work 4 days a week with clients, and 3 days I work on my farm or around our facilities, or I produce organ accumulators, or I'm working on organs. So it's a lot of manual labor. So I have to develop different um, windows when I can eat based on my schedule. And for example, if I stay most of the time in Europe and I have most of my clients in Canada and US, so most of my coaching happens during the evening. So I have to eat before my coaching starts. And I also do regular prolonged fasting because I believe that autophagy, so the state where body eats what it does not need, it's impossible or almost impossible during intermittent fasting. So once a month or once every 2 months, I do prolonged fasting, like 4 days, 5 days fasting, where autophagy starts. It usually kicks in after 72, 76 hours, depends differently on a person. So it's important to understand that intermittent fasting is a huge benefit when it's combined with the right workout and with the right diet. intermittent fasting is demanding not just because you have to organize yourself better so that you eat in certain hours, but it's also demanding because you lose the ability to regulate your emotions with food while you're on fasting. So when thinking about intermittent fasting, think about as many of these as possible. Intermittent fasting is great for lowering insulin resistance. However, it can spike cortisol if this intermittent fasting is too stressful for you. And it's important that you lose the emotional regulation factor of a food, especially sweet food, if you start intermittent fasting. Plus, you should be able to adapt, or you should think about how you will adapt to your schedule. So if you do a lot of manual labor or intensive physical work, or if you do a lot of intense sport, um, there is things, so you have to think about it, and you have to adapt your intermittent fasting intervals to your daily routine. I would also like to stress that for me, one of the most important things that helped me balance uh, my hormonal system was doing heavy weights. So lowering insulin level helped me a lot with increasing my levels of testosterone and other growth hormones, and it helped me recuperate after a workout or after intense physical labor much faster. If I needed 3 to 4 days before, I'm almost fully recuperated after 36 hours because I'm doing intermittent fasting and because I'm taking care of my diet. Please do not underestimate the probiotics. So the biome in your gut is important. Gut health is extremely important. If you have a leaky gut, you should think about additional uh, things that you should do, not just intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting might be the step in the right direction, but will not necessarily solve your leaky gut or similar problems. There are also a lot of inflammations in our digestive system, and autophagy, sorry, and intermittent fasting helps a lot, but does not solve the problem per se. So you will have to also get out. So the diet should be different. And of course, before you do intermittent fasting, if you have any disease, consult your doctor. And I would always recommend that you get in touch either with experts in our community or outside that know about intermittent fasting, that know that this is not one thing that fixes all, but it can influence your hormonal balance. It can and it will influence your emotional balance if you don't take care, if you don't uh, integrate well how you use your food to balance your emotions, you will have huge problems, especially because this will spike stress and then this will trigger your cortisol. So you might have even bigger problem with losing weight because of the high cortisol. So intermittent fasting was very beneficial for me. It took me almost 3 years to figure it out. It was a lot of trial and error. I was consulting a lot of experts, and I did not find a holistic one that could give me the insight in all the details that I've explained in this video or in this podcast. And most of them did not take my stress level and survival mode in the account, and some of them didn't even account for my diet or lack of the adequate diet. And only recently, so like 2 years ago, I found everything wrong with my digestive, let's say, biome, and started substituting or adding probiotics. So intermittent fasting is a great way to initiate change in your body. Um, I would recommend you start it, but do not expect fast results. And it also demands some kind of life change or lifestyle change. And this might be worthy for a lot of people, but if you are under too much stress, this might be a complete waste of time. So intermittent fasting also helps with, let's say, digesting your trauma out of your body. So when doing coaching or psychotherapy, talk about intermittent fasting with your coach or therapist, and find a way how you will regulate your emotions with intermittent fasting or while you do intermittent fasting. And don't forget the golden rule: you always break the fast with protein. For example, I do X, and you should stop eating, or the last meal should be full of fats. Of course, no sugar if possible. Okay, so let me wrap up with the final thought that intermittent fasting is a great tool for midlifers, but will not solve all your problems. Please let me know what you think about intermittent fasting, if you are considering it or if you are already practicing it, in the comments below.